All right, we are live. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Deconversion Stories. Today, I'm talking with my newly made friend, Bill Ashby, about his leaving different belief systems, because apparently you've been involved with more than one. So we're going to get into that in a couple of minutes. So, Bill, were you like always friends with Math Pig, or did you sort of meet him through all this stuff?
I actually met him through all this. He was one of the people that kind of helped me out from some of my more crazy moments, shall we say, just through conversations that we had in the live chat. And I met him through that. And then he was like, he wanted to have a sort of a meetup at his place, because he doesn't get a chance to meet people that are atheists as such, or agnostic, whatever you want to look at it. And he was like, does anyone want to come to my house? And I was like, well, I will. I don't mind. I'll jump on a plane. It's not going to cost me much. And so that's what I did.
Plane? Why a plane?
Because it was cheap and quick, like an hour and a half flight, and I was there.
Oh, yeah, okay. I figured you guys would have lived closer together than that, but
no. He lives in Northern Ireland, and I live in the West Country, like sort of southwest of England. Which, to be fair,
okay.
in terms of the north of America, that is probably relatively close. Do you know what I mean? But to us, it's
sure.
a distance.
Okay, all right. Makes sense. All right, so let's go back to sort of the early days when you were in whichever belief system you started in, and how you found your way out of that into the other ones, and take us on that journey, and
all right,
what led you to becoming an atheist later on.
So to start off with, originally, my family is sort of split. My immediate family, my mum and the man that I call my dad, who's my adopted father, actually, are, the word I heard used described the other day was atheists. Like, they don't really care. Like, to them, to my immediate family, it's the most boring subject on the planet. They're really like, whatever. So my mum doesn't believe in an afterlife particularly. She says, when she dies, stick me in a cardboard box and throw me on a rubbish heap. I don't care, because I'm dead. That's what she said. Yeah. My dad's brother, on the other hand, and his immediate family, he was a Baptist minister. And that was some of my first early interactions. Yeah, I mean, so he's considered quite firebrand in the UK, but a firebrand UK Baptist isn't quite the same as a firebrand US Baptist. Do you know what I mean? Like, my uncle still, like,
evangelical type, or
yeah. He still believes that we're all going to hell, and he will openly tell us if we talk about it. He's like, because you are non-believers, you are going to hell. Like, he literally will say that. But I don't know. Maybe it's as he's mellowed in his old age. But, yeah. So carry on. Yeah.
So as a good Christian, he's basically threatening you.
Yeah. Essentially,
that's kind of what it is.
Yeah, it is. However, he has mellowed out in his old age. Now that he's retired, he has mellowed out somewhat, and he tends not to bring it up so much. I think that is one way that I am quite lucky, I guess, in that our family tend to put family first. So my uncle does put God first in a way, but he still is like, family is family, and you stick by your family no matter what. Just because they happen to have different beliefs doesn't mean that they're not still your family. So I'm lucky in that sense,
Well, that's good.
And I completely acknowledge that.
Yeah, because a lot of people would kick you to the curb if you were a non-believer.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of evangelicals. Yeah, that's something that I've come to understand a lot more since being on in this sort of community, and it's something that I'm very thankful for, to be honest. So my main thing with early religion, my early life, my young life, my memories are really, let's say, fuzzy at best. I know everyone's memories of their young life is fuzzy, but for various different reasons, which we will probably get into at some point, there are whole chunks of mine that are completely missing, just gone. Anyway, so it's a little bit difficult, but I do remember. So I was sent to a Church of England school. Most state schools in the UK are Church of England. They are sponsored by the church. So
right,
the indoctrination there would probably have been considered mild, but still, like, there were songs that we used to sing in our assemblies every morning, and certain things that we used to say that to me at the time were just like, oh, it's just what you do at school. And now that I look back on it, however, it was indoctrination, and it worked. Because there are bits of it that I still do remember, you know, like it's stuck in there.
Right.
Yeah. So, okay. Then in the early 90s, I was born into a military family. In the early 90s, my parents my dad was posted to Northern Ireland, which is part of how me and Mathpig bonded originally. So what people don't tend to realize, especially, I mean, a lot of people below a certain age in the UK don't realize, let alone outside of the UK, but from like the 1920s all the way up until the Good Friday Agreement and September the 11th, 2001, Northern Ireland was a literal war zone. You know, it was a literal war zone. Like, it was a very common thing for there to be bombs and bullets on a daily and weekly basis. So
right.
my parents decided that it would be a good idea to get me away from that. So they sent me to a boarding school, and that boarding school was not only a military boarding school, it was also a heavily religious school. And that's where my sort of forays into religion in a proper sense really began. To start off with, they were kind of out of necessity. Okay, so I was sent there from the military. The military paid a large percentage of the cost of the fees. But obviously, a lot of the people that were there were very rich people with lots of money. And I was an outcast, basically, looked down upon, right? So I hated that to start with. That made it difficult already. And then I discovered that they ran Christian Fellowship. And if you went to Christian Fellowship, every Tuesday they would take you out of the school and they would take you to a local church. And in this local church, they played rock music and they played rap music and they played dance music, all Christian based. But this was things that I'd heard from my family before, but like I was missing in the school, you know, like it was something that was missing from my life. So I was like, wow, this is amazing. Right. I can get out of this horrible place, which I hate, and I can go somewhere where I can listen to decent music and there are these really nice people and it's all really good and we can have pop and eat cakes and, like, you know, it was great. Little did I know that was, again, some hardcore levels of indoctrination. Yeah, so it seemed like a good idea to me at the time. And I actually remember sometime during that period, I did the whole got down on my knees and gave myself over to God and all that jazz. and I'm pretty sure I really believed it at the time. You know, like it was a kind of an escape for me, I suppose.
Right.
Yeah, the school itself was not a pleasant experience. It was pretty abusive in a lot of ways, like even down to so we would have to have regular military parades as children. Like there would be like weekly cleans where we had to clean all of the entire school, like from top to bottom. We were basically used as slaves. You know what I mean? Like, essentially, we were treated like slaves.
Sounds like
you had to clean the place from top to bottom. There were competitions, house cleaning competitions, and you know, and who could have the cleanest house and stuff. Yeah, like seriously, it was hardcore. It was very, very.
Did you guys hardcore. Like use like toothbrushes?
Yeah, no, literally.
You have to clean the toilets with toothbrushes.
Not quite cleaning the toilets with toothbrushes, but it was like but buffing the floors, cleaning the whole place from top to bottom. Like you wouldn't do that with children these days. That would be considered child abuse. It wouldn't be allowed. You know, like it just it wouldn't.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was when things started to feel off to me. Like I couldn't reconcile the things we were being taught in terms of religious belief with the way that we were being treated and stuff. There was a major disconnect there. And that's definitely caused issues for me in later life. It's one of the many things. Like, you know, everyone has their issues, don't they? But yeah, that was one of the many things. One of the things I remember from that place. So my best friend there was a guy called Daniel Gonzalez. Now we were outcasts, basically. We were like the outcasts of the school, the weirdos. But we were also two people that we could handle ourselves. Me, because I'd been brought up with a military background. Him, because it turned out that he had some very major psychological issues. But so we ended up in a position where we kind of had to, we didn't have to, but we chose to put ourselves as the protectors of the fat kids, the kids of different skin color, the kids that weren't good at sports. Right. You know what I mean? The kids that would just get picked on left, right, center. Like me and him were like, look,
yes,
if you're going to pick on them, you come through us first. So largely, there wasn't a great deal of that in our school after a while because most of the kids were like, okay, we know that if we're gonna push this, we're gonna get our ass kicked. That's what's gonna happen. You know, like I just wasn't having any of it. I don't appreciate bullies. I never have. It's something that I fundamentally.
Yeah, me either.
It just doesn't make sense to me, you know. So.
Well, I was picked on as a kid in school too. As when I was younger, I was picked on a lot.
Yeah. So my friend Daniel, when I left the school, he and I lost touch for a while, and then one of the kids that we'd sort of protected, if you like, she got in touch with me over Facebook. interestingly enough. And she's like, "Oh, mate, thank you so much." She's like, you used to take so many beatings for people. She's like, "Really, thank you. Like, we honestly, there are so many of us that really appreciate what you did." And like, I was like, "It's fine." She was like, "Weren't you friends with Gonzo?" I was like, "Yeah, I was. Brilliant. How is he? What's gone on with him? I haven't seen him for a while." And she was like, "He's dead." I was like,
Whoa.
"What? Like, what is this? What?" She said, "You don't know, do you?" And I was like, "What?" She's like, "I guess you better look on Google." So I was like, "Okay." So I put his name into Google, and this article comes back.
Mhm.
And he was known as the Freddy Krueger killer. He one day took a train into London, and he went to so he'd been to like the doctors and stuff 99 times, they reckon, about 99 times, and he told the doctors that he was hearing voices, and that he was really worried, and that he was constantly hearing things talking to him, and he thought all kinds of things, and they roundly ignored him. They basically thought that he was trying to make an excuse to get onto the benefits system. So they completely ignored him. His mum wrote to her local MP and said, "Look, does my son have to kill somebody before he gets any help?" Unfortunately, in the end, he took a train to London. He stole a set of kitchen knives from a department store, and he stabbed 4 people to death and tried to kill 2 others.
Oh shit.
Yeah. And then they sent him to Broadmoor, which is like it's the UK's most secure mental hospital. But it obviously wasn't secure enough, because he broke a CD case up, and he used a broken bit of CD case and slashed his wrist and killed himself.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So
sorry to hear that, man.
Well, I mean, shit happens, I guess. I know that sounds mad to most people, but the thing. Okay, so the thing that I found difficult about that was that I personally suffer from bipolar affective disorder. Apparently, I have borderline personality. And unsurprisingly, I show symptoms of, though I haven't been diagnosed with, PTSD. Like, I showed symptoms of it, like the whole waking at night with night sweats and nightmares and
right
stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like,
oh man, that's gotta suck.
Yeah, I mean, it does, but you just got to try and get on with it, haven't you, really? Like, you've got to try and get on with it. Sorry.
Is there anything that could help you?
I mean, so I have medication, which does help. But I mean, it's not curable, for a start. Like, I just have to try
until neuroscience gets better.
Well, hopefully, yeah, hopefully one day. But I just got to try and make the best of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course, that's all you can do.
Yeah. Sorry, this is probably not what you were expecting.
I don't expect anything from these stories. I just expect to hear what people have gone through in these sort of adventures, right? So
yeah, okay. Well, in that case, that's what you're going to get. Yeah. So then I eventually kind of, after I'd got moved back my parents' house, that my religiosity then started to fall off, because, as I said, my parents aren't immediately like religious. They don't. They, as I say, they really don't care. To them, it's like just people can think whatever they want. But so it started to fall off. Then that's when I started to kind of make forays into the occult and alternative ideas of theism, mainly based around Egyptology, the Egyptian pantheon, and
like Rosicrucian.
So more sort of like Crowley.
I've got his tarot deck here.
Yeah, so the Thoth tarot deck, the Crowley Thoth tarot deck, is that the one you do? Is that what you mean? Okay, so
I have it.
So a lot
That's
of it,
the one I
right?
have. Yeah.
Yeah. So at one point, I was introduced to some people that were very heavily into that that scene, if you want to call it that. And like,
I was involved in it too for a long time.
Yeah, and they sort of started to talk to me about that sort of thing, about the tarot deck and stuff. Do you have the book that comes with the Thoth tarot deck?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so I used to believe that the Prince of Wands, the actual card in that deck, the description that is given in that book are very much matched my personality. So essentially, the people around that scene basically thought that card, if ever that card came up, they literally took it to mean that it was me.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, I later in life, I met somebody who is a hardcore Christian. Now, when I say hardcore, anything that is not a 100% literal interpretation of the King James Bible is Satanism. Anything, literally anything.
Really?
Yeah. That is how hardcore they are. Like, anything that is not 100% literal interpretation of that is Satanism in their eyes. And so they freaked out a little bit when they met me, and they knew that, because also the Prince of Wands is a card that in certain circles is taken to represent the devil. Like, a lot of people say, but the Prince of Wands is the card of the devil, blah, blah, blah. You know, that's a a commonly talked about thing. I don't know, it's something that you've come across before, but it's a common held belief amongst certain groups of people.
Right.
Now, so at the time that I met this person, I'd started to get, yes, that's it. Yeah. I'd started to get very much into conspiracy theories, and they'd taken they'd taken me down some very, very deep rabbit holes. I've kind of probably skipped over a little bit here, but it's sort of
that's okay.
And do you know what MKULTRA is? You heard of MKULTRA? Is that something?
I've heard of it. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
sure. Project Blue Book and all that shit.
Yeah. Okay. So when I started looking into MKULTRA and I was reading through the initial books about what it is and how it's done, allegedly. I mean, so the one key thing that you have in common with these sorts of things is that you always, I guess it's a certain mindset, but you always recognize things within it that are relevant to you. And I looked at how the first 6 years of the life of an MK is. And I was like, that's a bit weird. Like, I don't remember any of that part of my life, but okay. So, because my parents are in the military, my dad was in the military, my biological father was in the military. Everyone has known my family for longer than I've been alive. So I didn't really know my biological father. To cut a long story short, I asked people that knew both my mum, my dad, and my biological father, what was he like? And that was when I found out some things about my early life. And I was like, ooh, that's not good. And then when I looked into these are
things that you didn't remember?
Yeah. I don't remember it at all. I don't remember it at all. Like, so large parts of my life before the age of about 10 are almost completely non-existent. They're gone. I don't have any memory for the first 10 years of my life. And then there are certain blocks after that which have also been wiped out, mainly around the school that I was talking about earlier. Parts of that have just been completely, they're just gone. They're not there. And I know that the reason they're not there is for my own sanity, really. Do you know what I mean? My mind has gone, no, you cannot possibly deal with that. So we're just going to go, and it's not there anymore, you know? Like, I know that that's what's happened. So it is what it is.
Here's your card, by the way.
Yes, that is it. That is my card. That is my card.
Prince of Swords. There you go.
Yeah.
The artwork on these cards is pretty unique, that's for sure.
Yes, it is. It is very unique. And now I've lost my train of thought. You know, this happens a lot.
My apologies.
No, it's fine. It's fine. To be honest, I'm surprised I haven't actually lost it before that. Like, I'm doing really well. Normally, everything is so disjointed, I can barely actually get it out all in one coherent, more than a sentence.
That sounds like me on the daily.
Yeah. Okay, I remember where I was now. Okay, so I also I was born in a military hospital, a military hospital that no longer exists. And when I looked up the history of that military hospital, it is mentioned as part of the MKULTRA program. And I mean, it probably won't mean anything to you, but there was a famous prisoner, British prisoner, a guy called Terry Waite, who was taken captive in the Lebanon when that whole issue was going on between the Christians and Muslims in the 70s and the 80s. He was held captive in Lebanon, and then when he was taken out from Lebanon, when he was released, he was deprogrammed at the Rawton Military Hospital, the hospital that I was born in, which I now know means nothing. It means nothing, right? Like, do you know what I mean? It's just the hospital. Like, it was a military hospital. That's it. But at the time, I firmly believed that I had been programmed as part of the MKULTRA program. I firmly believed it, and there were people around me in my life. Yeah, I firmly believed it, 100%. Yeah. To the point where
what caused you to believe?
I was reading through the literature about how it's done, and I added up how it's done compared to what I know about my own life, compared to where I was born, compared to things that I know about my biological father and what his company does and stuff, that like it was all 2 and 2 makes 105. Do you know what I mean? But to me at the time it made perfect sense. It was nonsense, but at the time it made perfect sense to me.
Right. Well, I think you were just lacking the whole understanding that correlation is not always causation.
Yeah, absolutely. I was lacking any understanding of reason and rationality. And that leads me to how I got involved in the community and how I ended up here. That's because I'd been spending hours and hours and hours watching conspiracy video after conspiracy video after conspiracy video, and being fed more and more and more and more and more and more and more, until eventually I came across a video of the Atheist experience. First of all, actually, that was one of the first things that I saw, and I started watching that, and something resonated. Something went. At first, I was like,
click.
Illuminati, you're wrong. No, stay away. But then I was like, okay, we need to wait a minute. Like, and I slowly started to watch a bit more of that. And then I watched Talk Heathen and stuff. And that's when I first initially...
Oh, they're all Illuminati.
Yeah. That's when I initially met people like Math Pig.
Matt Dillahunty's the leader.
yeah. And Spooky Bedhair, and Doorknob Head. And actually, but it was more them to start off with. It was more the people in the chat that initially started to get through to me because they were just talking to me like I was a friend. Do you know what I mean? Not like they were trying to push any sort of agenda, just like they were friends. And that slowly started to drag me out, slowly. And then as I sort of started to watch more and understand more, and I started to understand about reason and rationality and about epistemology and about what it is to have a sound foundation and what it is to acquire knowledge, proper knowledge, that's when I started to realize that all of these things that I thought were true, that have bombarded me left, right, and center my whole life, were all bullshit. And it didn't.
It's hard when you realize something like that.
Yeah, it is very difficult.
Right.
It is very, very difficult. Very difficult. But eventually I did, and I was like, okay, this is not good for my state of mental health. I was also so I briefly mentioned to you the other day, as you might now understand, throughout the whole of that, from the age of about, I think when I was about 18 until on and off until last Christmas, I was an addict of various different substances, up to and including heroin, because I used it to kill all the pain. It was the only thing that would stop all the pain and all of the stuff just going round and round in my head. It would just make it all go away, you know?
Sure.
Yeah. And I kind of...
How long have you been off heroin now?
So I got off initially about two years ago, maybe sort of 2.5 years ago. When I first sort of encountered YouTube, that was around the time that I was getting off. And then my granddad died, who was a massive part of my life. For a long time, he was the main father figure in my life. And when he passed, that set me back again. I did go backwards. And then which pissed Math Pig off a bit. I know it did, because he knew like exactly, he knew it all. I've always told that guy everything, you know, like he's one of the few people I told, and it pissed him off, and he knew, and I didn't really want to admit it to him. I didn't, but then it came around to Christmas, and I pulled my head out of my arse again, and then I have been clean since then.
Right. And
actually, the current sort of crisis, the current issues have helped me in a way, because I normally am barely able to function taking care of myself, let alone anyone else. But my parents had gone away on a holiday to Vietnam and Cambodia. They were on holiday when the sort of crisis happened, and my nan has Alzheimer's. So the only person that was available to look after her, and still at the moment, the only person that was available to look after her is me. Like, it's on me, you know? So I had no choice but to go, look, pull your fucking finger out, stop being a dickhead, and fucking take care of your family. Do you know what I mean? So I go there now. I go there every single day. I cook her meals. I help her dress. Yesterday I was a hairdresser, because normally she goes to the hairdressers once a week and she has her hair done, but she can't do that at the moment. So yesterday I had to wash and blow dry her hair, because she was really upset that she couldn't have her hair done. I function as her cleaner. Like, I basically do everything, because normally she'd go out every day. I'd come to her house, and then I'd take her out for lunch every day. But at the moment, because she is in an at-risk category, we can't do that. I have no choice but to stay at home and take care of her. Do you know what I mean? So it has really, really, really helped me, to be honest. I guess in a way I'm kind of lucky, because it means I get to leave the house every day. I don't have to stay at home as much as I would like to, because I myself have got asthma and I've had chest problems. I had a pulmonary edema of the lungs like a couple of years ago. Yeah. Yeah.
You okay now? I mean, I know it's a permanent scarring issue, but
yeah. So now I have got some scarring. But I went back in a few weeks ago. Luckily, a few weeks, just sort of as the crisis was initially sort of starting around January time, I went back in and they checked my lungs, and there is some small amounts of scarring there, but the actual blockages and everything is now all gone. So that's good.
All gone. Yeah, good.
Yeah. And also, I practice Systema. Which helps a lot with that, and it's I don't know if you know about Systema, about what it is. It's
I've heard of it. I don't know much about it.
Okay,
but you can enlighten us.
Yeah. Okay. So Systema is I hate to call it a martial art, because it's not a martial art. It's a survival art. It's a combat art. It's taught. It's taught to the Russian Spetsnaz in small amounts, but it's mainly taught to the Shmers, which are essentially Russian spy hunters. Like, the guys who are sent to kill their spy defectors and stuff are the Shmers, and they are taught Systema, because it's a method of not only physical hand-to-hand combat, but it teaches you relaxation and breathing techniques. It teaches you to be completely calm and completely relaxed in any given situation, so that you just sort of blend into the background and just look like you're supposed to be there at all times. So that has helped, because from a lot of the things that I've experienced, I used to have a lot of fear and a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress built up, but the Systema has helped to remove most of that. It's really cool. Effective from the breathing techniques all the way down. It's very, very, very effective. It's a great thing.
That's excellent.
Something,
I mean, when we can find something that helps us with stuff like that, that's always a bonus.
Yeah, definitely. It's something, to be honest, that I think, although it comes obviously from a sort of military background, it's something that can actually help everybody, even if it's just the breathing techniques. So obviously your lungs are muscles just like any other, right? And if you exercise those muscles, they get stronger. So Systema teaches triangular breathing techniques, circular breathing techniques, square breathing techniques. It teaches elongated breath holds. So you start off, say for example, you breathe in for one breath, out for one breath, you hold for one breath, then you take it 2 breaths, then 3 breaths, then 4 breaths, then to the point where you breathe in over like 30 seconds. You're from empty to full over the course of 30 seconds. Then you breathe out from full to empty over the course of 30 seconds. Then you hold your breath for 30 seconds. And it teaches you to, when you're holding your breath, the stress creeps into your body, and it teaches you to recognize where that stress is and where that tension is, and to release it. And it also is so. A few weeks ago, I got cold and flu symptoms, which normally, because of the history of my chest problems, would go straight away and hit my chest, and I'd be coughing, I'd be spluttering. Because of the Systema breathing techniques and the lung practice, that didn't happen at all. Like it's totally and utterly strengthened the breath and the control of my lungs and stuff. Which under the current climate,
that's good.
Because obviously, it is, because obviously the thing that's going on at the moment tends to hit to that area. The techniques themselves are really effective. And obviously it teaches you to get used to being without being able to breathe properly, so that in itself is a stress reliever. It's good.
Well, the virus gets into your respiratory system, into your lungs, and what it does is it starts taking your good cells and killing them off and making them, more virus cells. So I don't think anything can make that an improvement or improve upon that. So if you do have some sort of breathing techniques, that might be able to help you, but ultimately it's still doing the damage as it would anyone else, regardless of breathing technique, right? So.
Of course. So although the virus does still do the damage, the area that it does help is being able to control the stress that comes with that. That makes sense. Okay. That's what I'm talking about. So although the damage will happen, the thing will still affect your lungs. If you are used to being in breath hold situations, if you're used to the stress that brings into your body, and you're used to being able to alleviate that stress, that is only a positive thing. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. How long were you involved with the sort of the paranormally stuff that you were believing in for
so
that
good.
time?
So hardcore, a good 3 to 4 years, like actually actively practicing. And then after that, so I was a DJ for a long period of my life, and I used to go to a lot of free parties and festivals and raves, and at those sort of places you meet a lot of hippie God is the universe type people. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And, yeah. And I still have a lot of my friends who are those hippie God is the universe type people. And
you're gonna have to have a talk with them there, Bill.
Yeah, I am very slowly making progress. Like initially at first,
excellent.
They thought that I was being an asshole. And so a lot of them are actually quite well educated, and like some of them are engineers and IT professionals and stuff. They're very well educated people. So now slowly, especially with the current climate again, now that there's so much crazy conspiracies around the virus and there's so much misinformation, where I've been talking about what it is to be reasonable and rational, my friends are now slowly starting to see, okay, it's not necessarily saying that these things that we believe are wrong. It's just what is the basis for them. Because to be honest, a lot of their basis for them is around stuff like quantum physics and all that sort of thing. So they have an understanding of the basics of quantum physics. They just argue from the
basics of quantum physics.
They do, but they just argue from the specific to the general. They just apply things like the double slit experiment and the information that they know about quantum physics, and they just take that and they apply it to a general idea that the universe is all vibration, and that vibrational frequencies are about your mood and all that sort of stuff. So I know.
Which is all bullshit, by the way.
It is all bullshit. It is demonstrably bullshit. Yeah, it is demonstrably bullshit. But I found that if I'm going saying it's demonstrably bullshit, that doesn't get the best reaction. Whereas now they are starting to.
They feel attacked when you do that, right?
Yeah, they do, exactly. They do feel attacked. And now they're slowly starting to come around to the idea that, okay, maybe we are misinterpreting and misunderstanding our ideas of how things are and how life is and how the universe is. And they're slowly coming around. I noticed.
Just tell them to stay away from Deepak Chopra. Because he likes to use sciencey words like quantum in everything he fucking does, and it's ridiculous. He has no idea what quantum physics actually is. Yeah,
it's funny because I was recently reading a book called The Quantum Universe, Everything That Can Happen Does Happen, written by Professor Brian Cox and another guy.
You kind of broke up. Right?
It's called The Quantum Universe, Everything That Can Happen Does Happen. It's by Professor Brian Cox, and I can't remember what the other professor's name is. Yeah, I've just recently read that, and that it explains the basics of quantum physics in a sort of way. Oh, so do I. I think he's fantastic. I do think he's fantastic. That was one of the things when MathPig had the flat Earth guy on his channel the other day. One of the things he said was, "Oh, your guy Brian Cox, blah 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 blah." Yeah, but it's not. Because obviously they see it as like an us and them war, don't they? They think that there is a spiritual war going on, and that flat Earth is part of this thing, and that do you understand what I'm saying? Like that's the us and them thing, like, but it's more from them than us. Mark Sargent, that was it. It was Mark Sargent. He was on. Kevin.
We don't mention his name here. Mark Sargent's name is like Voldemort, for fuck's sake.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Him and fucking Jeranism. There's another one for you. Fucking mental cases.
The thing, okay, so the thing that I find particularly irritating is that he raised the double slit experiment, and initially he said, well, the uncertainty principle, if something's not being observed, it doesn't exist, which is not at all what that says. And somebody brought up that it's not at all what, right? Somebody brought up that it's not at all what that says. And then he actually gave a better than layman's terms actual description of what it really means, but he glossed over it really quickly, showing that he does know what it really means, but he's lying out of his fucking ass for the money.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I'm convinced of that for sure.
Totally.
Yeah, totally. I think he probably knows better, but he's just making too much off of this to give it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he plays the part. Pretty sure.
100%.
Yeah. Simon Dan. I'm not sure if you're familiar with his channel, but
I am indeed.
I think he pretty much thinks along the same lines. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he thinks along the same lines about that.
Yeah, as does
he believes there's more than one of them too that actually don't believe that shit, but still promote it because they're making the bucks.
Yeah, very much so. As does Conspiracy Cats. Yeah, he also.
Yeah, another good one.
Yeah,
There's a bunch of them in that.
Yeah, there are. The thing that I really like about Cats is more his education side of things than his satirical side of things. I mean, I love his satire channel. I do genuinely love it. But he is such a nice guy that he actively goes out of his way to educate the youth, to educate children. That's what he does as his main job, or what he did do as his main job. And then he set up his Patreon basically as a way to give what is essentially one-on-one tuition to children at a fraction of the usual cost of that kind of tuition, which that's such an honorable thing, man. Do you know what I mean? Like that's such an honorable thing to do. Like, I've got so much respect for that guy. So much respect.
I think schooling shouldn't cost anything, because anyone who goes to school and then becomes successful can always donate to the school later on in life and make sure it's running.
I agree.
Keep the schools going, and many do that. Many do that already. So
yeah,
like you get foundations and funds that come from alumni of those schools that pour money back into the school where they learned and were able to make the money that they do. Right. So that happens a lot.
Yeah, education should totally be free. Totally should be free.
Yeah.
I mean, it always used to be in the UK. The thing that I find annoying is that there are all these politicians that benefited from a free education, and now they're screwing the rest of us over by making it not free anymore. You have to pay tuition fees when they themselves benefited from the free education system. Yeah. And it only
they're probably benefiting from the tuition fees too.
Yeah, it only increases the divide. It only increases the divide, because there is absolutely no doubt that you do have an advantage if you come from what in the UK is the public education system, the privately funded education system, not the state system. There is an inbuilt advantage to that. You've only got Hollywood. Take Hollywood as an example. You only have to look at the percentage of Hollywood actors that come from publicly funded schools compared to those that come from state system schools to see that there is an inbuilt advantage, without a shadow of a doubt. I think that's one.
There's always an advantage when you have money.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one area where YouTube is almost kind of unique in a sense. That
how so?
Really, so YouTube is something that anybody can really get access to, and anybody can make something of without there being such an advantage. Okay, there is a bit of an advantage if you've got a little bit of money for the outlay for the initial cost of the equipment and stuff. But although it's more about what you know than who you know, although it does help as you start to get to know other people on YouTube and they think you're a nice person and they will help promote you and stuff. Yes, that happens, but it's more of a meritocracy in terms of you've got to be a nice person, really. Do you know what I mean? It's more about, does that make sense? Rather than it being an inbuilt advantage just because you come from the family that has money.
Yeah, I think I see what you're trying to say there. And with YouTube, it's obvious, I think, people, when they present themselves in a format like this or a platform like this, people are going to see right through them if they're not sincere, in my opinion. So
absolutely.
It's always best to be, the best version of yourself anyways, and try to be that person constantly all the time, but not always easy to do, right? Because somebody might piss you off. You're going to act like a jackass because somebody pissed you off, but it happens. We're all human.
I mean, I spend most of my time being an asshole enabler, as certain people in the chat will tell you. I am grade 1 asshole enabler.
Yes, but you see, with you, Bill, I think that's become an endearing quality. So
perhaps.
Because we from what I know of you already, you seem to be a decent guy. So, everyone has their bad days, right? We all have them. For
sure.
I go to work some days and I'm yelling at people, and the other days I'm the nicest guy in the world. So,
yeah.
Kevin H says that you I don't even know if, can you see these when I pop them up?
Yes. Yeah.
So Bill, my asshole.
I totally do enable all his assholery. That's 100% the truth. Kev's a great guy, actually. He produces all of the music for Math Pig's channel.
Excellent.
And I also put him in connect with Conspiracy Cats as well, and he's probably going to be working on some music for him too. Kev's a great guy.
Great. Are you guys familiar with Creaky Blinder?
Yes, I actually gave him the name for his Playing a Blinder series.
Really?
Yeah, that was my
That's
idea.
Awesome. He's awesome. I like the guy. I communicate with him quite often via Twitter and stuff. Cool. I'm like, dude, you got to have me on your show one day because I'd love to go to his show.
I
mean, if you guys know,
I spoke to him a little
put in a good word.
Well, so at the moment, I'm talking to Conspiracy Cats.
I want to have him on mine too.
And Creaky. Like, I'm not quite sure whereabouts he's going to go, how it's going to go first. Because at the moment, obviously, he has just got his first grandchild. So that's a lot of work and a lot of stress, especially under the current climate. So I'm trying to get trying to get something going there anyway. So it was Conspiracy Cats is going to help me in that, because him and Simon, Dan and Creaky all have like regular communication via WhatsApp apparently. So fingers crossed they'll be able to sort something out there. Yep.
Well, Simon Dan, I don't think even knows I exist yet because I haven't really done anything with him. But Creaky just cracks me up, so I had to open up. But I had to break that seal and go, "Hey, Creaky, I love your shit. I do a show too, and I'd love to have you on if you have a deconversion story." Which he doesn't really have a deconversion story, but he said that he had an influence, like religious influence
as well. I think.
Yeah, pretty close. Yeah. But Bill, man, we've come up to the top of the hour already, which seemed to go by like that.
It did indeed.
You're okay with an after party for a little while?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Like I did them. Yeah. I do these always afterwards. I take a 10-minute break and then we get into an after party sort of thing. So.
Yeah, sounds good. It means I can make coffee and such.
Exactly. Yeah, you got to stay awake. It's starting to get late over there.
Yeah, 1 o'clock in the morning, which is very late for me usually. Like I'm usually well and truly gone by now. But yeah, cool.
Well, I appreciate you staying up the extra time to hang out with me and chat with me.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it, man. That you had some crazy ass shit go down in your life, man. It reflects a little bit like me too. I have had some bizarre shit happen in my life too, but yeah. So it's good to know that I'm not the only one out there that has kind of a long and winding history with this kind of stuff.
Yeah. So there's probably more that we could get into, but we'll do that in the after party. So.
Sure. Yeah. And if any of you guys in the chat would like to join us, just let me know through Twitter or Facebook if you're not on Twitter. And if you guys like what I do here on my channel, there are links below how you can help out the show if you feel like you want to do so. And there are also some links below for Bill. I've got his Twitter account there, his Facebook account there, and I've got his YouTube channel. Although really, all you really have, I think, are playlists and stuff now.
Yeah. That's it. Like I don't do a lot of videos on YouTube at the moment. Mainly, I just appear on other people's
Works
channels,
for me.
But I will do eventually. I will.
All right, so keep an eye on that channel. Give him a sub. You've got 53 subs already, which isn't too bad, right? So
yeah.
For a guy that doesn't make videos.
That's it. I am going to make a 50 subscriber video at some point. It is planned-ish, but anyway.
Very cool. Well, look forward to that. I'll give you a sub too. I forgot to do that earlier. I was going to and forgot to. But I don't know if you sub to me, but if you do, thank you.
So yeah.
If not, get on it. All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. Some pretty interesting, pretty deep stuff went down today, I think. And like I always say at the end of these things, like the late great Christopher Hitchens once said, it's called faith because it's not knowledge. And we'll see you guys next time.